Welcome to Chaotic Encounters.
I'm Gia.
I'm Krista.
And today I'll be telling you about the exorcism of Roland.
And I'll be telling you about the exorcism of Anna Ecklund.
Hi, welcome to Chaotic Encounters. On today's episode, I will be telling you about the exorcism of Roland. Okay. So a 13-year-old boy named Roland Hunkler, or Roland Menhem. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I'm going to be referring to him as Roland Doe or Roland, but then it's just his first name. But it is believed that he was despondent over the loss of his Aunt Harriet. Some refer to her as Tilly as well. So I'm not quite sure if it's Harriet or Tilly, but it is believed that she was a spiritualist who taught him many things, including how to use the Ouija board, which is really freaking cool, in my opinion. But in early January of 1949, shortly after her death, Roland began to experience strange things. He heard scratching sounds coming from the floors and walls of his room. Water dripped incidentally from the pipes and walls. Most troubling of all is that his mattress would suddenly move on its own. His family sought help from experts that they knew. They consulted in doctors, psychiatrists, and even the local Lutheran minister. The minister suggested that they would seek assistance from the Judists, the Catholics. Sorry if I mispronounce anything. That is where they came in contact with Father Albert Hughes, the local Catholic priest. He asked his superiors for permission to perform the exorcism on the teenager in late February of 1949. They gave him permission. He began the exorcism by strapping the boy onto the mattress, but he did have to stop after Roland broke off a piece of the mattress spring and slashed him across the shoulder. That had to have hurt. Leaving the exorcism unfinished. A few days later, red scratches appeared across his chest with the words Louis on there. So his family decided to go to St. Louis, where they had family who was attending St. Louis University at the time. And she put them in touch with Father Walter H. Haldern and Reverend William Baldwin. After consulting with the university's president, the two Jews agreed to perform the exorcism on Roland with several assistants. The men gathered at the residence in March of 1949. They witnessed scratches on his body and the mattress moving. The same thing that would happen in Maryland, where he was before he went to St. Louis. They noticed that there was a pattern, though. He was very calm and did not remember anything during the day, but at night he would erupt into screaming fits and all of the craziness that would go on at night. As well as more scratches and red lines and all of that amongst him. Most notably was that there was an X that would appear upon his chest, which they believed was significant to the number 10. Another incident was pitchfork-shaped patterns and lines that would move from his thigh all the way down to his ankle. And the X on his chest, which they believed was 10 demons. It doesn't say what demons there were, but I'm not necessarily sure if I would really want to say the demons' names, to be honest with you, because, yeah. Okay, so they never gave up. They continued the exorcisms at night. And on the evening of March 20th, it reached a new level. Roland wetted his bed and began to scream and curse at the priest. His parents decided that enough was enough, and they took him to a hospital in St. Louis for more serious treatment. Finally, on April 18th, a miracle occurred in Roland's room the Monday after Easter. He awoke with seizures, yelled at the priest, saying Satan would always be with him. The priest laid holy relics, crucifix, medals, and a rosary on to him. And at 10:45 p.m. that evening, the priest called on St. Michael's to expel the demon from Roland's body. They shouted at the Satan that St. Michael would battle for Roland's soul. 7 minutes later, Roland came out of his trance and simply said he's gone. The teenager recounted that he had visions of St. Michael's vanishing the demon on the great battlefield. According to Roland and Roland, according to the priest, his behavior ceased and there was no other occurrences after the fact. And he lived a very amazing life after the fact. He worked for NASA as an engineer, and just want to make sure I get this correctly. He patented a special tech to keep the shuttle panels resistant to extreme heat that did help the Apollo mission in 1960. He did work for NASA for 40 years and retired in 2001. Unfortunately, he did pass in 2020 due to a stroke, but it is believed that he lived a very beautiful life after. He did want to keep that he was the boy a secret. He felt kind of ashamed, and I can understand where not wanting people to know everything, how that can come about, you know? Yeah, so that is just a kind of short summary on how everything became.
Hi, I'm Krista, and today I'm going to be covering Anna Ecklund's exorcism and her paranormal experience. So, Anna's paranormal experience spanned over several decades, and it first began in 1912 when she was only 14 years old. So, right there, that case is just heartbreaking to me in general, just because you have such a young girl going through so many things, as we'll get into this, and to be under a demonic possession at just 14, and then having to deal with a crazy aunt and your father, and it's just heartbreaking. But Father Theophilus Ressinger is the priest that was in charge of Anna's case. He said that Anna would be speaking in tongues, having strange voices come from her, and claimed that she would be levitating and clinging to the walls of the bedroom. She suffered from disturbed thoughts and would revolt against holy objects and sacred spaces. There is a book that was written on her. It's called Begone Satan, a soul-stirring account of diabolical possession in Iowa. So if anyone wants more information or a deeper dive into her, I think this book would be a great way to go, and you can probably find it on Amazon relatively quickly. It's believed by Father Theophilus that a curse was put on Anna by her father and her aunt Minya. As the story goes, Minya was believed to be the lover of Anna's father, and was also a proclaimed witch who used spelled herbs in Anna's food to put her under the demon's spell. So right there, I'm like, food poisoning. You want to have this affair, because I don't know what happened to Anna's mother, if she's around, if she had passed, and if she did pass, that's even more. So like, your mom passes away, then you get possessed by demons. Your aunt is having an affair with your dad. That's a lot. And she's only 14. Like, I don't know how any person can go through that, let alone at that age. It's just heartbreaking. Anna's first exorcism was in 1912. Now, mind you, she is only 14 in 1912, so this is her first exorcism. And it said that it had worked until she was possessed again by even more demons in 1928. The second exorcism lasted for 3 sessions, and it was at a convent in Erling, Iowa. And this possession, unfortunately, deteriorated Anna's body. It eventually did work, though, and she went on to live her life with only mild possessions afterwards. So, like, you beat the first one, then even more come. You beat that one, and then you have to live the rest of your life out with milder possessions. Like, it's so sad. Father Theophilus performed 23 days of exorcism on Anna. He was born in Germany in 1868 and joined the Capuchin order in Wisconsin in 1899. By 1912, he was well known for his expertise in exorcisms. So he actually built his entire career based off of this case, based off of Anna's exorcism. Anna Ecklund, also called Emma Schmidt, was raised in a Catholic house in Marathon, Wisconsin. So she did change her name to try to keep some sort of privacy to her life, and that's why she goes by 2 names. So when she reached the age of 14, she started to grow an aversion to holy objects. She was unable to enter churches and unable to have anything to do with God or anything. Father Ressinger also thought that Anna was okay after the first exorcism in 1912, but in 1928, she again wasn't able to pray or go to church. The priest told her that the demon had returned and brought 7 fellow demons with him. So that's just crazy. Father Ressinger also asked Reverend Joseph Steiger at St. Joseph's Parish in Erling, Iowa, for help, and together they moved Anna to an isolated convent in Erling, ran by the Franciscan sisters. And this part I thought was pretty cool, because if you're raised Catholic or you know anything about Catholicism, Mother Superior is very well known, and Mother Superior personally allowed them to bring Anna to the convent, and she was brought there August 17th of 1928. Anna, however, refused the blessed food and consents ahead of time when the holy water would be sprinkled, and when it was, she would hiss. So there's your aversion to holy objects. The first of 3 sessions started on August 18th in 1928. She was bound to an iron bed to keep from hurting anyone. They also had the strongest sisters from the convent standing by to assist. I would really be interested in reading a book if Mother Superior and the sisters that were there to witness this would have written one. Maybe they did. I'll look into that. They started the opening prayers, and Anna sank into a deep sleep with her eyes tightly shut. When they officially began the rite of exorcism, she allegedly ripped through her restraints, leapt into the air, and clung to the walls above the room's door. Anna was making inhuman howls that lasted the entire session, and the sisters took Anna down from the walls again and restrained her in the bed. The second session started on September 13th and went through to September 20th, followed by the third and final session that started December 15th. Anna ate less and less, but would vomit impossible amounts, mainly looking like large amounts of tobacco leaves and other debris. At the same time, demons began to physically change and distort her body. Anna's head swelled and elongated, and her face disfigured. At the end, she was pale, emaciated, and her eyes were like glowing red embers. Anna's behavior changed, and she made an impossible amount of vomit, urine, and feces, foaming at the mouth when the father would speak Latin blessings. One occasion, it said that Anna's body expanded to twice its normal size, causing fear to the nuns. Anna spoke in languages she never heard and listed the childhood sins of the nuns and priests around her. After a short time, several of the nuns asked to go to a new convent. Anna's voice continued to change in guttural growls, creating impossible sounds, and her body grew so heavy that it bent the iron bed frame. Even when sleeping, she muttered in tongues, blaspheming God and verbally assaulting anyone that was in the room. They asked Anna what spirits were in her, and she listed several, with Beelzebub as their leader. However, she stated that she had also been possessed at the command of her father Jacob and his mistress Minya, with the help of Lucifer himself. According to Anna, the first exorcist failed because her father and Minya kept poisoning her food with cursed spices. When the priest asked the demons what business they had with Anna, and a voice claiming to be Judas Iscariot replied, to bring her to despair so that she will herself. So I found that relatively interesting. Just to stop here for a second. So first, Beelzebub. So he is like one of the leader in the legions or something. So it's Lucifer, and then he has all these legion leaders, and Beelzebub is said to be one of them. And he is the lord of flies and dung. So I mean, there's that, which that's an interesting one to pick. And then to have Judas, who was a real person, like he's the one that betrayed Jesus in the Bible. So like, why would Lucifer take one of his leaders that he has and pair him with someone who used to be human? And then together they all attack this girl for whatever reason, no known reason. But it's interesting that that would have been said, that Beelzebub and then Judas were both there. I don't know. So on December 23rd, 1928, the final session began, and Anna stood upright on her bed, collapsed screaming at the top of her lungs. When her voice reached the highest pitch possible, a stench passed through the room and Anna quieted. She opened her eyes and spoke in a clear voice. And after 23 days, it was over. In the following years, Anna lived a reasonably peaceful life. But remember, back in the start of this, it said that she lived the rest of her life with milder possessions. So, I mean, reasonably peaceful with milder possessions. Her identity was kept secured, and Reverend Steiger, the one from Iowa, lived a full life till his passing in 1941. It is said that there is a demonic set of claw marks permanently marred on the door in the local convent, which is the last evidence of this battle. So if I ever go to Iowa, the first thing I'm doing is finding this convent because I want to see that for myself. But I just think this case is very interesting, especially with Father Theophilus, because Father Theophilus built his entire career basically off of this. This is what gave him his fame and his name to be known in the exorcist community. And even so, like going further from that, so all of the future priests and fathers that came to be exorcists, they all studied this case. And I know a lot of people have tried to debunk this. And I think like if this case ever were to be debunked, which I don't know how she would speak the languages she never heard, especially in her sleep, or list the sins of the fathers and the nuns that were there. I don't know how to explain that. But if it were debunked, it would kill his career because this is what it was made off of. And it would kill a lot of the other careers from other exorcists, like people who perform them, because they all studied this to learn how to do it. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things. And then I also did some other research that I didn't write down for this, but I remember it. And I was looking into it. And in 1912, there were no actual blood tests that you could do. You couldn't perform blood tests at a hospital like we can now. So there's nothing that could have proven what was or was not in her bloodstream or her system. But when I looked into things that were available, there were like certain mushrooms and a certain type of lavender and some other things, all of which could create things to explain her behaviors. So paranoia, anxiety, even some that bloated your face and changed your facial features. Like there's different things that they could have been putting in her food to explain these rather than a demonic possession. but then there's these other things that go along with it that just can't be scientifically explained, not to my knowledge. So this is definitely a very interesting case, and I actually might purchase that book myself and read it just to see if there's any more information that I missed. But this is her case, and she's one strong girl to be able to go through not only the first possession, but then a second that was said to be much worse, and to have 23 days of exorcisms performed on her that had to have been so exhausting, and then to go on and live life with milder ones her entire life. It's just amazing and crazy, and I would not want to experience that at all. But I hope you liked it. This is the end of mine, and I can't wait to read any comments, see what you guys thought. And if you feel like it, feel free to like, comment, share anything that can help us out. Gia's was before mine, and I just think this is fun and we enjoy doing it, and hopefully you guys like what we're doing, and I'll see you next time.